we've got Brent Martin and Jan Cook, who are joining us by Zoom. Brent and Jan, good morning. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. You're representing the Friends of Banks Peninsula, and you've got 5 minutes for your submission this morning.
Thank you. The Friends of Banks Peninsula has taken a strong interest in the Akaroa wastewater project because the supply of water and the disposal of wastewater can both have major impacts on the environment. In the draft LTP, the council states it is applying a climate lens over the entire plan for the first time. We applaud the sentiment, but suggest it needs to be more rigorously and holistically applied because current spending priorities do not reflect these objectives. The council draft climate change strategy identifies and highlights water supply on Banks Peninsula as infrastructure that is vulnerable to sea level rise and increasingly under threat. At the same time, it aims to promote sustainable water use and waste minimisation. This is reinforcing which identifies water and wastewater as core responsibilities and acknowledges the core state of the network. They have noted the media report yesterday on the Research Commission by the Greater Christchurch found that the word most residents chose to describe the Christchurch they would most like to see in 2050 was sustainable, and that the desire to protect the environment was strongly the number one wish. And have been
Jan, there are times when we're finding it quite difficult to hear you. I think if you speak quite closely into the microphone, you'll be fine. That's better.
Akaroa and Devotional have been under level 4 water restrictions since December. That is 5 months now, with no outdoor water use at all. Can't water the garden, can't wash the car or dog, hose down the deck or fill a paddling pool. Our area relies on streams for water supplies. There are no aquifers of note. Last winter was abnormally dry, with forecasts now suggesting the coming winter may be the same. So perhaps the new normal. Summer rainfall has been negligible. Water is being tanked in from elsewhere. This is not acceptable service for residents, nor is it sustainable. At the same time, the Akaroa wastewater network is failing badly, with stormwater leaking in and raw sewage periodically leaking out and polluting the harbour. And Akaroa's surrounding seawater quality has failed 46 out of 63 tests for microorganism concentrations in the past year. Akaroa's creaking water and wastewater networks are clearly already cause for serious concern, and the cost for the so-called Akaroa Reclaimed Water Treatment and Reuse Scheme that has been adopted by the council are eye-watering. Incredibly, this scheme does not reuse the water in Akaroa where it is desperately needed, but instead requires complex, costly infrastructure to take the water to another catchment where it will be used to irrigate planted native vegetation. Native vegetation does not need planting or irrigation to grow well on Banks Peninsula, and much larger areas of reforestation could be achieved at much less cost by simply acquiring marginal land and locking it up. So in summary, Akaroa is still growing, the water supply is shrinking. Where is the water going to come from in the future? Treating wastewater to a high standard and then piping it out of the area is squandering a precious resource and an opportunity to mitigate against future water shortages caused by climate change. And building complex infrastructure, costly infrastructure to irrigate planted native bush is not a sustainable use of resources. Far greater benefit could be extracted from the water by reusing it in the Akaroa catchment, and by this we mean not just purple pipe but replenishment of that catchment. Water charges proposed are too low, allocation is too generous, and charge for excess not high enough. It doesn't encourage water saving except by the worst offenders. Everyone should pay some charge for water, even if for most it is fairly modest, as a constant reminder to use water wisely. So we're asking you to focus on sustainability, ensure that there is sufficient budget for the full repair of the sewer network and to reduce the wastewater volume, and focus upfront spending on recycling, reuse in the Akaroa catchment. And there's much more detail of this in our full submission. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So that's the presentation. That leaves time for one question, if there is one. No questions. All right, Jan and Brent, thank you very much indeed for joining us this morning, and some points very well made. Thanks very much indeed for the time. Thank you.